Hello, hello. I've been sitting here in the shop working a little while today and getting ready to work on this little bottle, so I thought I'd just bring you in with me and let you watch what I'm doing with this bottle. I'm Judy Mullins and you're visiting Vintage to Chic. If you're not a subscriber of ours, I hope you will be, and I hope you'll come along and watch us with more of our videos. Plan to go live, we hope, very soon. Okay, this is a round bottle that comes from Hobby Lobby, and I've used these many times, and I love the way they're made. Sometimes I put lights in them, sometimes I don't. Today I'm just going to do a little bit of decoupage. I have printed me a couple of flowers out on mulberry paper. It's very thin and I love it because it just kind of fades into the background. So I've printed one for each side. I'm going to put a print on each side of my bottle, and then I'm going to put a little bit of clay across here and then do some painting on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to glue this down as soon as I find my glue here where I set it. You might know. Okay, here we go. I hide from myself all the time. Okay, this is Mod Podge is what I use. And I add a little bit of water to it because it's way too thick the way it comes out of the bottle. And I just keep it in a little cup and I add a little water, and then that makes it perfect because it doesn't take much to glue anything down. I've got that, and I've got a little piece of saran wrap here. I hope you're being able to see me is okay. Okay, I've got this bottle and I have painted it white. I usually spray paint. I spray with Rust-Oleum's 2-in-1 spray paint. And it has the primer along with the paint in the same can. Take it outside, spray it lightly until I get it, until I get it covered. You have to do it a little bit at a time. You can't spray it all at once. Now I'm going to take this design and I'm going to decoupage it right across my bottle. And I really don't need it to wrap around the sides. I don't think. I'm going to put that on there and see how it does. Okay. I'm going to put me just a little bit of glue because it doesn't take very much to glue something down. Okay, just a small amount. And I'm going to lay, I think I got it upside down. Yeah, I want it that way. I'm going to lay that right down, and I'm going to work from the middle out. Okay, so I'm just going to take my brush, and I'm going to put my glue right over top of my design. And with this mulberry paper, it just fades into the background really good. That's why I like it. It's so thin. It's got a little bit of threads running through it. You can get mulberry paper on Amazon that you can print on, or you can get it on mulberrypaperandmore.com. So I'll post those links in my description when we're finished here. I'll give you a link to the paper. The only thing is, when you use the paper, you have to attach it to another sheet to get it to go through your printer. I like printing my own designs. I like working with my own designs. So I'm either designing and printing my own, or I'm printing something else that I've purchased. Now I've got a little bit here on the ends, and I'm going to kind of cut into that so that it will lay down real good on that. If you're taking anything around the corner, if you cut into it, it'll lay down real easy. So I'm going to put me a little bit of glue under there, and then I'm just going to take it one section at a time, and I'm going to bring that right around and glue it down. It overlaps, one overlaps the other if you've cut into it. Otherwise you will have a big wrinkle there. Okay. See how easy that fit over that side? Just goes down real nice and flat. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing over here on the other side. I'm just going to take my scissors and kind of cut into it at least 2 times. According to how much you got down through there, I could take it all the way down through there, but I'd have to put more cuts in it. Come up here and glue this down while I'm at it. Come right over here and pull into this section. I love this bottle. It's so versatile and it's real feminine. You can, sometimes I make them and I put a cork light in the top of them, and sometimes I just put a different kind of knob in them, and sometimes I don't do anything to the top. I just leave it open. But it makes a nice little bottle. Now I want to be real careful when I flip it over here. I got to get this on without getting in that part that I just painted. So I'm going to come in here and see where I'm going to position it. And I'm going to tear a little bit off of this sides over here. I'm just going to rip it a little bit because I don't need it to overlap. I don't want it to overlap. You can overlap them if you want to, but I don't want them to overlap. I just want them to meet there. Okay, so I'm coming right back in with this one. And I'm going to put me a little bit of glue down there. And I'm going to stick that one on there too. Go from my middle out. And glue it all down. Now this time I'm not going around enough. I will cut one little spot there. Just one little place. Anytime you're rounding a corner or, got a ledge or something, just cut into it and it'll lay down for you. See that all meets on that edge? See how neat and all that is on the edge? Now I'm going to do the same thing over here on the other side. Coming in here and gluing this down. Cut into it one little spot right here. So that will lay down real easy. So many different designs you can do on this kind of a bottle. If you use the lights in it, you can use those little cork lights they call fairy lights. You can find those on Amazon. Usually they're about, you just have to do a search for them. Cork lights or whatever. Usually you can find them for about $2 a piece, but you have to buy them, like a dozen, sometimes 15 or 20 of them to get that price. But it don't take long to use that many. Okay, now I've got that. I'm going to set that down, and I've got a little mold here. Just a little bitty border mold that I love. This is a flower mold, and I think it come from Temu, but I'm not sure. So most of the small molds I buy from so many different places, I'm not sure. And this clay, you see I've got my clay wrapped with the kind of tape they use, surgical tape, used in a doctor's office. This is a good thing to stretchy tape like you get around your arm when you got a blood test done. That's perfect for keeping your bags of clay in. This stuff is amazing. I really like it. I've been using it about 2 months. It's called Hardy, soft, extra pliable, and feather texture. When it dries, it's feather light, and that's what I like about it. So you want to take a little bit, reach in the bag and take a little bit out of my bag, roll it back up, and it feels kind of like bubble gum, except it's not sticky. It stretches. Just kind of stretches like bubble gum. But I like it real well. Now I've got a little bit of cornstarch over here, and I'm going to put just a little bit in my mold. What I like about this clay, is you can piece it in there a little bit at a time. You don't have to try to make the line all the way down through there. But the thing is, you can't take your palette knife or a card or something and skim it across the top. So you got to try to just put what you need in that mold. And usually I just start by rolling it out in a long piece. Just roll you off a piece of it that about the length of that mold that I'm using, and then just start up here in one end and just kind of press it down in there. You want to get it all in all your little nooks and crannies. Get it in there real good, and just work your way down the piece. Press it in. You can also see, you can tear it off, press a piece in, then take you another little piece and put it on there. It's not the other clay. You don't have to do this this one like, get it in. It'll work right together, piece right back together. If you just put it in one little piece at a time, that works too. You just got to get it in your mold. And this dries to in about 15 minutes to where you can paint it. It's pliable when you take it out, and then about after you get it on your piece, about 15 minutes or so, it's dried to where you can paint on it, and it's feather light. So if you're doing anything that uses a lot of clay on it, you know, to keep the heaviness so that it's not heavy, if you use something lightweight, it's a whole lot better. I made Christmas ornaments at Christmas, and some of them I got so much clay on they were top heavy. So this is a way to prevent that. See, I'm just pinching a little piece off, just like pinching you off a piece of bubble gum, and press it right down in there. I've got to have 2 of these, maybe 3, part of 3. So about 2.5 of them I've got to have to go around my bottle, because I'm going to take it all the way around. I use different kinds of glue, sometimes just whatever I have handy. That's what I use to glue it on with. This time I think I've got some diamond glaze out here that I'm going to use to glue it down this time. Now after you get it in there, just press it down good and try to keep it away your edges. Try to keep your edges kind of clean. Otherwise you'll be clipping them off the edges to get that. Just press it in there good, and then I'm going to roll it out. Just take it loose. See how pretty that is? See how neat that rolled out of there? Just pretty as it can be. Now I've got to have one. I'm going to have one on each side, and then a little piece to go around the corners there. So I got to have 2 and maybe half of another one. So I'm right back in again. I'm just working my way right down the mold again. Okay, now I'm going to press it down in there. Make sure I'm in all my little spots there. And I'm ready to roll that one out. It dries feather light. It's so light when it dries, so lightweight. That's one of the things I really like about it. Now I'm going to go about halfway down again. I believe I got enough clay here to do that without having to get out anymore, but I may not. If you have any questions, you can always message me. You can catch me on Facebook or on message me on Facebook. You can message me on YouTube, or I have an Etsy shop called Vintage to Chic where I sell my finished products. Been working on Easter eggs for a few days. Okay, now I've got a little over half of that one. I hope that's enough. Okay, now I'm ready to glue it on my bottle. And my bottle's almost dry enough to do, but I'm going to lay it down, put something under it take a couple of these molds and lay it on there so I don't let it touch my, don't let it lay down on my paper there. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to glue it right along the bottom of my flowers here. So I've got it in place. Like I said, this is Judikins, Judikins, Judikins Diamond Glaze. It's real thin is why I like it. The only thing is it stops up on the end there real easy. I have to keep a stick pin over here. And if I forget to put the lid on it immediately, then it gets kind of clogged there and you have to punch a little hole in the top of it to get it started again. Okay, now I'm going to hold my mold up here and I'm going to put just a little bit. Doesn't take very much to do it. I'm going to go all the way down. Then I'm going to take my finger and just kind of spread it to the edges till I get all the way up to the edges. And I keep a rag in my lap so I can work to clean my hands on. Turn it back over and I'm going to glue it right down there. See? Now let's see, I've got a little stick pin like thing here, a little stylus. I've got a couple of little spots there that I need to push up where it got a little bit outside the mold shape. I'll just push those right in there. Okay, that dries real quick. So I'm going to go right and turn it around. Try not to get it on my thing, and I'm going to glue this other one on the other side. A little tiny bit of glue and spread it out. And then I'm ready to glue it on. I'm just going to hold it here like so and put it across there. I want to try to get them both about the same here, so I'm going to look up here on my ends, see where I've got that, and kind of get them in the same place as I go all, right on around that bottle. You can move it a little bit as you're working with it. Okay. Now I got to put a little piece down here. I may have to make me another little piece. I've got to put a little piece here, which is about that long. Put a little bit of glue on it. And bring it right around my end and join us. This stuff stretches just a little bit, so you got a little bit of stretch in it. You want to be careful that you don't mash it too hard, because you'll mash right down in there and lose your pattern, because it's soft, real soft. If I would lay it down on the table, I would lose my design immediately. It would press those flowers right down in there and I'd lose that. Okay, now see, I've got it all the way around that end. Let's see if this one's going to reach. Yes, buddy, I timed it, got it just right. That's a good thing. Little dab of glue. Put it right in there. This is a quick project. It's not hard. It's very simple and quick to do. See, now I've got the bottle. I've got both ends. Now I'm going to come in here while that glue is drying a little bit. I'm going to put me a little bit of paint in the backgrounds there for some variations of color. So I'm going to get me out. It's got a little bit of blue in it. I'm going to get me a little touch of blue here. Put it out on my palette. Get rid of that. Put me a little bit of a blue here. And a little bit of white. A little white out. I see right now that white's stopped up on me. These are just acrylics, and I just kind of match these to the, to the color there. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of a neutral color, kind of a tan. This one's called Sand Dollar. Okay, I never pay any attention to what the name is on the bottles. I go by what the color looks like from the bottom of the bottle when I'm working, mixing colors. I look to see what it looks like. Now I've got blue, tan, and white, and I'm just going to take me a soft brush, and what I'm going to do is kind of work up in here right above my flowers here. Don't need to do much down here, but right up here above my flowers I'm going to tap in. I'm also going to put out a little bit of glazing medium, and I use Jo Sonja's clear glazing medium. This is just a substance that helps move the paint a little bit. Shake it up a little. And I'm going to put a little drop of that at. That'll just help to kind of thin my paint. It's just a little thicker, has a little more body to it than just using regular water. Okay, I'm going to turn my paper this way. Pick up a little bit of that on my brush just to prime my brush a little bit. Okay, so it's not just a dry brush. Pick up a little bit of white, a little bit of the blue, and kind of mix them together on my palette until I've got just kind of a gray tone. Then I'm going to go right in here and just kind of play with that and pull those colors right up out of there and let them meet on the other side. If you get too heavy on the blue, go right back in with some white and tap it out again. I'm just kind of doing a tapping motion and just kind of putting a little bit of shading in there. See if you can see that, what that little shading, see how I've done that? It's just going to bring it up to where it's not stark white up there around that top. And each time I pick up paint, I might pick up a little bit of a different color. Sometimes I might pick up a little bit of that tan and just kind of play back and forth with my colors till it's not all just one color there. It's adding some different colors in there. And I don't have a whole lot of room to have to do this, so I'm just going into the spots here where I'm seeing just the bottle and work in there a little bit. And work in this also hides anything you have left of that paper. You know, if you see that paper anywhere in there, this is going to take it all away. And I'm just working my way around that. Little white, little blue, little tan, little medium, and just tap it down. I'm getting right down close to my clay there a little bit. It's a wind. If you can hear the wind, it's real windy here this evening. I live in Tennessee, in the Great Smoky Mountains, right outside of Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. We've had winds all day today. Now I'm right back up here to the top again. And I'm just making little short choppy strokes so that I don't have any real harsh brush marks there. Play with one color and then the other till you get it all filled in. You don't have to do this, but it just adds a little more dimension to your project. I'm going to go right up on the top of the bottle, on the part that's very top. I'm going to take this right up to the top. I'll put a ribbon around this top too when I'm all done with it. Put a bow on it. But I'm going to take this little bit of blue color right up here into the top of my spout, or whatever you want to call that. Just the neck, right up into the neck of the bottle. Should have put a little more paint on there than I had on that top. But when you get the ribbon around it, that won't show. Okay. I think I've about got that one done. See, I've went all the way. See, I've went all the way up through there and just filled in those colors. And I'm even going to go right up here around this very top piece and just put a little bit of color up here on it. If I can find me a stopper that matches it when I get in my stuff, if I can find me a stopper that kind of matches this top, I'll put a stopper in the top of it. Usually that's a knob of some kind. Find some kind of knob in my stash that looks good on it, I'll put something up there. Okay, I think I've got that top done. Just playing back and forth with it. Okay, now I've got all the top done, and I'm going to paint this bottom with a blue. I'm going to mix me some color. I'm going to mix a metallic with a little bit of black and make that real pretty blue down to the bottom. I'm done with the glue. I can put that away. Done with the glue. Now this one happens to be, when I choose a color too, metallics don't work very good by themselves. You know, you either have to put a color on there first, put the metallic over it, or you have to mix a color in your metallic. Me, most of the time, I prefer to mix the color in my metallic. And a lot of times I use black. If I wanted it to stay this color of blue, I would use a solid, I'd try to match me a color of blue that was, you know, that was close to that. Here's just a, for instance, this is not exactly the color. But see, I would get a metallic and a regular paint in close to the same color as I could get. And that's how I would match it up if I was going to do it in just that color. But I want this one to be dark. I'm partial to dark colors. So I'm going to put out my metallic first. Put some metallic on my palette. Then I'm going to put me out of just a little bit of plain black right beside it. When you're mixing colors, you always want to start with your lightest color and add your other to it. That part's getting down to the end of the bottle and it's full of stuff. I'm going to have to clean that bottle out, or maybe I got enough out of there to do it with. Okay, then I'm just going to take my black a little bit at a time and I'm going to mix it over here in my blue till I get a good color that I like. Very seldom do you get the same color two times. I like to just sit down and play. Some days I just sit down with my metallics and my darker colors and I just mix them and play with them. Put a little bit of metallic out, a little bit of blue or whatever other color. If you're using pink, put a little bit of, you know, something else. You can create so many different colors by adding some colors to your metallic. And that's what I want. This is kind of like a navy blue that I've got it finished here. May not have enough, but I'm going to start with that and see if I do. Get my palette knife cleaned off and get me a good sized brush so I'm not working on it so long. And I'm going to paint right up over top of my flowers here, so I'm going to take a small brush. I will have to do that. I'm going to take a small brush. I've got a little bit of clay in there that I think needs to come out. Little piece there that doesn't need to be there. So I'm just taking my stylus and cutting that right out of there. It's just where it kind of overflowed in my mold a little bit. So you can clean up your edges or whatever. That was about the only one, the one right there. Okay. And I'm going to take a small brush first. Hope I don't get that dark up on my flowers. Take a small brush and I'm going to go right across the top of my flowers here. I'm going to paint that. That's the slow part. Go right across that with that dark blue. So that's the hardest. This is the hardest thing you'll do, is taking the time to paint this little border across here. And I don't want to get a lot of it up there on my flowers, so I'm going to try to do it very carefully. And you can feel this, how this mold, you can feel this is like kind of like rubber. When you're painting on it, you can feel it. It's kind of gives a little bit. I'm going to come all the way across, just right there on the edge, till I get that painted in. Just a small brush and using my little finger as my guide. That little finger helps me control what my brush does. Okay. This is kind of slow going now. Spend more time on this than we will the whole bottle. Just getting that top part across there. The rest of it will go on real fast. See what I'm doing there? Just working my way right across that top edge. I will go back later and use some fine line crackle on this top part here. Very hard to do that on a video. I don't edit videos, girls. I put them on just the way that I make them because I don't really know a lot about the editing part, and I'm not really interested in learning it because it's too much process. So I'll just do them. You know, you get me as the real thing, and most people like that. You just get to see the real thing all the way through. So doing the fine line crackle is hard to do online unless you do your video and you edit it, because you got to wait for drying time. You got to put the step 1 on there. I use Pin Art's fine line crackle, but you got to put step 1 on there and let it dry a couple hours. Then you got to put step 2 on there and let it dry a couple hours, and then come back in with your waxes. And you can't do that if you're online trying to work with that. You see people doing it, but they've done it and then edited their video. You get me in real time and really what I'm doing, mistakes and all. We have a good time on our Facebook page and on here both. That fuzz on my brush. Well, I'm just about halfway around. Turning it around, going around the corner now. You have to be careful, because if I get this paint all over top of my bottle, that's a problem. Getting it off or getting it covered, since I'm going from light to such dark color. Now I'm on to the other side. This is the quiet part. But if you're watching this, if you're watching me on YouTube, you can just fast forward through this part. That's the good thing about it if you're watching over on YouTube. If you're watching me on Facebook, then you got to just stay with me. Sometimes you can fast speed them up on Facebook. Yeah, you can do that. The only thing is now Facebook is taking our videos down after 30 days. So on YouTube, they stay on. They'll be staying on, but in Facebook, they'll be off after 30 days if you're watching me on Facebook. But just go over and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to keep up with everything. Not too much farther. I'll give you a link to the clay. I'll show you the clay, a link to the clay when I post it. So you can look down in the comments and find a link to the clay. I got it on Amazon. Discovered it a few months ago, and I've already used about a half a dozen packages. You will love it. But for other bigger pieces now, this one's not my go-to so much for if I'm doing something large in clay. Because it's, you have to put, it's so much harder to get it in the mold in all them little pieces. But the small and the shallow molds, this is the very thing you can use. A lot of the little molds are real shallow, that you can't get real heavy, thick clay in there. So this bottle may need 2 coats, but this around here, this clay won't, because I'm going to come back and put some waxes on it, so it won't need to be 2 coats on it. I'm almost around. Uh-oh, I got a little heavy on the blue there, so quickly I want to grab me a wet brush and go right in there and pick up a mistake. If you get it immediately, you'll be able to pull it right out of there with a little bit of water. Okay. Okay, I'm on the back side here. Okay, I think I've got it around. So now I can switch over to a bigger brush and then just work it right on down. Okay, put my brush up there. See, I've got it just the top part done up there, top all the way around. And now I'm going to take it right on down. Use this, go to a bigger brush, and then I can just work it in there. I don't have to be so careful with it now. Goes in real good. Kind of using my brush to push that right into those flowers. I love this little mold. I've used it many times. My brush is a flat brush, but it's kind of a little bit stiffness to it, so I can just dab that right down in there. It's not a real soft brush. Okay. Got to turn it in all different directions so you get all the little white spots. Then they'll show up like a new moon there, full moon. So you got to just work your way around till you get all those little spots in there covered. See, I've got little spots down in there. I need to just tap right down in there and cover those. Right on around. Every time you turn it in a different direction, you'll see another little white spot in there. So just keep working your way around until you get them all covered. When they turn the bottle back up, you know, some of them may not show, but I'm just real self-conscious of that. So I try to get them in there, because once that paint dries, you know, I'm not going to match that color completely again unless I paint the whole thing. Now, sometimes if I need a second coat, I go back in and have to mix to get a second coat. Well, that's okay, because I'm painting the whole thing again. So it won't matter if it's a little bit different blue than what I started with. Back up to looking under the thing again. Make sure I got it all covered. I thought this would be faster, but I guess it's not, is it? Because I'm having to cover all them little spots. But I don't have to be so careful about getting it on where it don't belong. Okay. I think I'm ready to go on down the bottle. Thank goodness. Okay, now let's just take this right on down here. I love this navy blue. And I will have to put 2 coats on it to get it nice and smooth finish on it. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of the wetness out of my brush there. See, the top is dry enough now till I can hold on to it. Okay, I believe I got it on there enough. Got enough on there to get it dried. I might as well go ahead and paint the bottom of the bottle while I'm going to dry it and get that done. I don't always paint the bottom. If it, if it looks like it needs it, I do. If it don't, I don't. Just, whatever I'm in the mood for at that time. Sometimes you have a bottle you really have to, and then other times it's not absolutely necessary. Okay, now I've got that coat on there. I'm going to put my brush up there out of the way, and I'm going to get my dryer, and I'm going to dry that a little bit so I can go right on working on it. See, that's pretty just like it is. But I do need another coat on there, and I'm going to have to add me a little bit more paint to my puddle over here, because I don't believe I got enough to go completely around it again. See, so I'm going to come back in right in the same little puddle, so you can just about get it the same if you're doing it all at one time like this. If you wait till tomorrow, then you may have to go over the whole thing again with the second coat, because you may not be able to match your colors. Now I'm going to clean that one off and go back to my brush again. And I don't have to go over those flowers again. I'm not going to go over these because they're going to get some waxes put on them. So I'm just going back in here and paint my bottle again. This time it'll be a real pretty finish on it. Too much paint on my brush. I hear the police sirens. You probably can hear that too. Or the rescue one. Oh, that looks good. I like that. Okay, now see how pretty that is? That blue is just really sets that off, and then it will get varnished. It'll have varnish on it and some waxes till it's all shiny when we're done. I will get you down to the crackle, and then we'll have to do a crackle finish, have two pieces ready and do them two pieces at one time, so I can do a short video on doing the crackle. I think that's what I need to do. It's called two-step, fine line two-step, but really it's 3 steps, because you gotta let each one of them dry, and then the final, so you're really 4 by the time you get it all done. You just get you something and experiment with it. It's Pin Art's Fine Line Crackle. The directions is on the bottle, and if you just experiment with it, you will learn, and it's really neat stuff. You do have to varnish. I'm going to get along that far with you. So you have to varnish the top. I'm going to have to varnish. Now, I didn't go back down on there and paint that again, but I'm going to go down to a small brush, and I'm going to paint this little top on here. Get me a smaller brush to work with. And I'm going to paint that top. My cat's trying to get in the door. Come in here and take my blue paint, and I'm going to come right up here and go right around the top of this. And paint the top of this little thing blue. There's a little lip around through there. Okay, see, that looks much better now. Just let the side of your brush go on there, and you'll get a good straight edge around through there. When that dries, I may have to go back. If I keep working on it, it just pulls paint off. Okay, now I'm going to check here and see if I got any more little spots that need to be filled in. It's right there's one. Well, I got a smaller brush here. A couple little white spots are shining out there. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to dry that real quick again. Now I'm going to go ahead, you need to varnish. What I'm going to be crackling is this part up here, this top section. So it has to have some varnish on it before you do the crackle. You have to have that sealed. So I've got a little container. Let me get me one of these little containers here. And I use this varnish called, let's see, right here. I use this Josania's. It's by Chromium, C-H-R-O-M-A, Chromia. Josania's satin varnish is what I like to use. I use her varnish in the satin and the gloss. It's just a lady's. She's an artist, and they use her name. So I'm going to put a coat of varnish on this top. If you do that crackle on that paper, it won't work. That paper has to be sealed before you put any of the crackle on there. So I'm going to put me a little bit of varnish out in this tray. And I'm going to take me a soft brush and go in there and paint all the upper part. I'm not going to paint the bottom part, just the upper part. As soon as I find me a sufficient brush over here. Okay, I think I can use that one's too big. And can't find what I want. This is a water-based varnish. You can put a water base on now, but after you do your crackle, you have to put an oil-based varnish on there to seal it in, because it's not waterproof. It's not, you can't use a water-based varnish. Now I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to get my brush right down low, close to that thing, because my crackle will go all the way down there. And this is clear. It goes on, and it just dries clear. So I'm going to go all the way across, just kind of paying attention to where I've been, because I want to make sure I get everything covered. If you don't get it all covered and you put that crackle medium on there, then you're going to have a raw spot. So you have to be real careful that you get your varnish on the whole thing, just like you do when you get your crackle medium on. If you're not sure, you can always do 2 coats of this. Doesn't matter how many coats you put on there of this one. I just want to make sure that it's all covered. So if you're doing it and then you have to step away from it or something and you're not sure, then just go right back in and put you another one on there. I've got that one side done. Come up here and go around my neck of my bottle and work my way right down the other side. In here and get right down next to my flowers again. Okay, I think I'm ready to dry that one now. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to try to turn it in my light. Just turn back and forth in your light so you can see. Usually if you got spots on there that's not covered, you'll see them when you turn it in the light. But this stuff dries real quick. This one does. Okay. Now, I can't put the crackle on, so I'm going to go ahead and put some waxes on my flowers down here. And I think I'm going to go with silver. I kind of like the silver with that navy blue. So I've got some silver rub and buff here. This is rub and buff. You can get it at Hobby Lobby, you know, any of the places like that. It's called Silver Leaf, and it's rub and buff. I'm going to go around my flowers a little bit. I like to use just the end of my thing here, but I also like to put it just a little bit on my paper over here so I can get in it. And I don't want very much on my towel at one time. So I'm going to go right here and go right across these, and I'm going to just hit the top. Now I'm not pressing way down in there. I'm just putting some color across there on those flowers. You'll immediately be able to see that. I love the waxes. I like the Finnabar waxes is my favorite. This one just happens to be rub and buff because it's a good, the silver and the gold in the rub and buff I really like. But the Finnabar waxes are my favorite waxes to use. Now see how pretty that is with the silver on there? That just pops right out there. And I'm going to go down to the bottom, and very lightly I'm going to put a little bit of silver down here. And I'm going to go kind of up and down on it. I don't want it to be, I'm just going to put me some streaks kind of up and down. And you can always, if you get too much on here on this part, you can go in and repaint it, paint it over top of it and get it back off if you don't like that. If you don't like what you get, then just go back in and do it again. And I'm not liking that. So I will just leave that alone and let it dry, and I'll go right back in with my blue and cover that again. Because I have some spots there that's showing up that I don't like. See, it's some, and I'll put some streaks in there. But I've got a few places here. Sometimes you can go in with a clear wax. Let me try that. Just get you a clear wax. Mine happens to be Dixie Belle. And clear kind of neutralizes what you've already put on there. So if you go in with a little bit of clear wax and go right over what you put on there, it'll take it off. But I've just got a streak there that I don't like. So I'll probably go right back in tomorrow and paint that blue on there again. Put another coat of the blue on there. Okay. Now, I've got to put one more coat of blue up here on the top. Go right in here again and put another coat of blue on this, because I can see some shadows shining through there. Like I said, this neck will get a bow around it when I'm done. When I'm all done, I'll tie a bow around that neck. Okay, now I am going to show you how to put the first coat of the crackle medium. I'm going to show you how to put the first coat on, because we've got to let that, I put that on and then I'll let it set tonight before I put the second coat on. So let me get some over here. See, this is called Fine Line Crackle Varnish. Step 1 is pure white. Step 2 is kind of a cloudy brown color, okay? So you have to put step 1 on and let it set for a few hours. You can set and dry it, but it's very hard and aggravating to do, because if you don't get it dried properly, then you're going to have a problem with it, with it not working for you. And I done that when I was learning. So I rather than be sorry of putting it on there, I'd rather not try to do the whole thing with you. And I can't get that one open. Okay, let's see if I can get it open. That's a new one, and I can't get it open. When you get old, girls, you don't have no strength in your hands. And no guy here to open it for me. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to get me out another one, because that one's not going to open. Let's try this one. I got 2 or 3 of them. I have to take that one in tomorrow and let my son open it. Okay, this one's coming open. Okay, this is Fine Line Crackle step number 1. See, it's white, looks like white glue. And you want to make sure you get everything covered on there. And the thing is, you want to put it on, the thicker you put it on there, the thicker your cracks are going to be. So if you want your cracks to be real thick, big cracks or whatever, then you want to put it on your piece real thick. Okay? So I'm going to start, and you have to pay attention to where you've been and where you're, where you've been on there, so that you get everything covered. But it also shows on there, so you're able to see that. I'm going to start right down here, and I like mine kind of thick. You can see as you put it on there. It's just like painting glue on top of your piece. You're painting a coat of glue on there. And I'm going right down into behind my little trim there, and then coming right up to the top with a thick coat of this. Then tomorrow in the morning, if it was more daylight, if I was earlier in the day, I could wait a couple of hours and then come back to my shop and do the second step. I've got a piece over here that's had the first step put on it, so I'm going to put the second step on it with you. But then it has to dry before it crackles. It crackles as it dries. Okay? Then you have to put an oil-based varnish on top of the crackle. And most of the time I spray that with Rust-Oleum's 2-in-1 clear acrylic spray, varnish spray. But Pin Art does make a fine line crackle varnish if you want to buy their varnish. They also have that, but it's a brush on. I'm just paying attention to where I'm going and being sure that I cover every little spot on here. And see, it's just turning my whole piece white. Because like I said, it's just like painting on glue. I'm putting a coat of glue all over it. If you want little fine crackles, you can just put a smaller amount on there. The more you go up, the more of this you put on, the bigger cracks you'll have. Then after you get your cracks on, you go back in with your waxes and you wax over top of it, and that wax is what sinks down into the cracks and shows all your cracks on there. So without the wax, you won't see the cracks. When you put your wax on, don't put nothing water-based on this after you've done this. When you put your varnish on, or sometimes we put our waxes on and then we can take a wet wipe or something and clean off the excess. Well, you can't do that if you've got this crackle medium on there, because that wet wipe, it doesn't interact with water and it will mess up your crackle immediately. Just get real gooky thick. See, I've got it all the way around. I don't know if you can see or not how exactly what it looks. It's kind of cloudy, so you can probably see that it's kind of cloudy. Now I got to go right up here and do the neck. I want to make sure I get around that too. Since it's late in the evening here while I'm out here in the shop, so I won't do this till tomorrow. Do the finish crackle on it tomorrow. But you can see how to put it on there. Just be sure everything is covered. Okay, I believe I got it. Okay, now it's starting to dry already. I can see it'll turn clear as it dries. When you come back out to to work on it second time, it'll be clear. There'll be a clear finish on it. My cat is having a fit to get in the door. See? Now that's all I can do with this one tonight. That's this evening. That's all I can do. So I'm going to set it over here. And I've got one over here that I've been working on today. So I'm going to switch it over here. This egg has my crackle varnish, has the first step already on it. Okay, so I'm going to show you. See how shiny it is? That you can see that shine on there. This is an Easter egg that I worked on yesterday, and I've put the crackle medium on each one of the bunnies in here. Now I'm ready for my second step on this one, and I'm going to go right back in with a soft brush, and I'm going to cover each one of these sections now with this second crackle step. And then as it dries, it will crack. Then when you put your waxes in there, you'll be able to see all those cracks. But again, you have to pay attention to where you've been, where you're going, because you don't want to go over the same spot over and over. So when I start here, I'm going to pay real close attention to where I'm putting it. Right down in my bottle, come up, pick it up, bring it right up close to my edge there. Coming from my bottom up. And just be sure you get it on every part of the thing, but just don't go back and forth and play with it. Just try to get you a coat of it on there and let it go at that. Now I'm going to turn it around so that I'm pulling that brush toward me, and I'm going to go up to the top and pull down to meet that where I've met it in the middle. Okay, that gets me one section of it. It's got the medium on it now. Okay, so now I'm going to twist it right on around, put the next section on. This is the two-step, and it goes on clear. You can see it a little bit, so you can see where you've been and where you're putting it. But just don't keep playing with it, you know, in one spot. Get it on there and get away from it. Took me a trial and error. I told myself I will learn to do this, and it took me trial and error till I just, you know, till I got it on there. Till I got it where I wanted it, you know, be able to do it. Okay. Now I've got two of them. I'm over to the third section here. When I get all the way around, I'll just set it down and leave it till tomorrow also. Then in the morning, I'll be able to put my waxes on it, and it'll be finished with the crackle. And I'll either brush on the varnish or spray it. Most of the time I go ahead and spray them. But be sure you have a varnish. Like I said, I use Rust-Oleum's varnish, and it is not water-based. Do not put a water-based varnish on this. Like the one I put underneath it is water-based, so I couldn't put that back on it again. I got one more section here. This cleans up with water. I just put my brushes. I have a brush base, and I keep my brushes in, and then I'll take them in the house and clean them. My shop is outside on my front porch. I got boxed in one end of my front porch to make my little shop out here. Little workroom. Okay, I've got it on there. Now, see, you can see how shiny that is. I think you can see that shine. See that? How shiny, and then it'll dry. Now this already down here has been varnished, but I'll probably put another coat of regular varnish on this because I want to put some glitter on it. I'm going to go right back up that again. I'm seeing a spot there that I might not have covered. Okay. Okay. I will put some more varnish on this bottom. This yellow I have done. I'll probably put some waxes on the yellow here a little bit, but I've varnished this with one coat of my this varnish, and I'll go back in and put a couple more coats on it, and in the last coat I put on there, I will add glitter to my varnish, and then this will have a real pretty glittery finish on the bottom here, and to finish it out. Okay, I'm through with this evening, and I hope you've enjoyed. And I've taught you a little something. I've enjoyed having you, and I hope you'll subscribe, or if you're on my Facebook, just send me a message and let me know you watched. And I'll catch you later.